All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. And salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick lesson. And, for today's lesson, I'm going to be going through David acquires a sword and going through Jacob's trouble, right? And really and truly what inspired this lesson was a quick, lesson I heard from one of my elders. And, he was talking about, essentially going through Jacob's trouble and the things that are about to come upon this kingdom, upon Babylon the Great, and how we need, essentially how we're going to be essentially cut off from, society. And it reminded me of this quick account I wanted to bring out, with David. And, as always, Lord's will, Yahweh Ratazah, this lesson may be edifying. And before I start off, I just want to grab this first scripture here, because that's what I normally like to do, is to take the stories of old and kind of place us in those similar situations and what our forefathers did, and in hopes that it will refresh our memories and be comforted, especially when we're going through our own situations, but also in the things of to come in the near future, right? When Esau comes down with that great wrath, because he knows he had a short time, right? So let's get Romans. Okay, this is Romans chapter 15, verse 4, and it reads, For whatsoever things that were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures we might have hope, right? And that's one of the big things that to actually strive, is to actually get that comforted, is to get that comfort, especially in times of tribulation. If we be separated from our brethren. There were times, I've made a lesson on early on this, when there were moments when David, he actually had Jonathan with him, but there might be moments where we might be alone, right? So what I really want to do is touch on is the point is David acquires a sword. So let me just touch on the story really quickly. It's just a quick part of one of the chapters in 1 Samuel. Okay, so just give me 1 second. Okay, this is 1 Samuel chapter 21, I'm going to start at verse 8. I'm going to read it in the NLT. I'll just go back and forth. Just bear with me on this. And it says, And David asked Ahimelech, Do you have a spear or a sword? The king's business was so urgent that I didn't even have time to grab a weapon. And David said unto Ahimelech, And is there not here under thine hand a spear or a sword? For I have neither brought my sword nor my weapons with me, because the king's business required haste, right? So, just for a little context, this is after the fact that, David, he ends up slaying Goliath, right? And so now he's kind of like on the run. So Saul's kind of he's tripping at this point and coming down after him, right? So the point is to place ourselves in this situation. So just imagine that we're in a situation kind of like David, and then we come across some goodies that we actually might need, right? So this is verse 9, and it reads in the NLT, I only have the sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah. The priest replied, It is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. Take it if you want it, for there is nothing else here. There is nothing else. There is nothing like it. There is nothing like it, David replied. Give it to me. So David escaped from Saul and went to King Achish of Gath, right? So this is another Philistine that David eventually ends up kind of like, I don't want to say working for him, but he was kind of like, essentially you could say he was kind of like working for him, in a nutshell, right? Later on in the book. But verse 11, and it says, but the officers of Achish were unhappy about his being there. Is this David, the king of the land? They asked. Isn't he the one who people honor with dances and singing? Saul has killed thousands and David tens of thousands, right? So they were kind of like concerned about, about David, because as to them, he's a heathen, but we know David is an Israelite, but they were looking at him kind of like sideways, because essentially the Philistines and the Israelites were enemies. They are enemies, right? Those are two different lineages of people, right? And so this is verse 12, and it says, David heard these comments and was very afraid of King Achish of Gath might do to him. So he pretended to be insane, scratching the doors and drooling on his beard, right? So actually, I'll just read verse 14. Finally, King Achish said to his men, Must you bring me a madman? We already have enough of them around here. Why should I let someone like this be my guest? Right? So at the end of the chapter, so you're in a situation where essentially you're fearing for your life, right? And so David kind of he exercises wisdom, right? So the scriptures talk about how wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all that get understanding, right? And Yahushua also said in Matthew chapter 10 that behold, I have sent you as sheep amongst wolves, so you have to be wise as a serpent. So this is, you see the actions of David where he's using wisdom to kind of navigate through these different periods of tribulation, right? And I kind of want to equate that to us, as we go through Jacob's trouble, right? Because the point of this lesson essentially was to, David was on the run, right? And then we were going to be, I don't want to say we'll be left out there, but we were going to be kind of disconnected from society. And because of that, there are going to be things that along the way that we acquire, right? So for example, what in this particular chapter, we noticed that, okay, while David was being sought out by essentially his enemy, he acquired a sword, right? And the Lord made it in a way where he acquired the things that he needed, right? So that is really the purpose and the objective of this lesson, is to actually bring some comfort as well. While he was on that journey of being sought out by his enemy in that period of time, we're going to be in situations where we acquire certain things for the things that we need to actually continue our journey, right? In hopes that Yahweh Bashem Yahushua would have mercy upon us, through this time of judgment, right? So I didn't have this one on the list. Okay, this is Habakkuk chapter 3 verse 2, and it reads, O Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years, and in the midst of In the midst of the years, make known in wrath, remember mercy, right? And that's one of the things that we want the Lord to have. We want, to impart on us, is to have mercy on us, and hopefully our families, our loved ones, children, siblings, whoever that might be in our immediate circles, right? And so that's really the objective of this. The point of this lesson is to actually outline, okay, David was in a situation where he needed particular things to continue his journey, and one of those things was a sword, right? So when he acquired the sword, it was able to actually help him, and actually so he's able to continue on his journey, so to speak, right? Hopefully this lesson is actually making sense and tying together. Okay, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 2 verse 27, and it says, "Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance. The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. My hands shall cover thee, so that thy children shall not see hell. Be joyful, O mother, with thy children, for I will deliver thee, saith the Lord. Remember thy children that sleep, for I will bring them out of the sides of the earth, and show mercy unto them, for I am merciful, saith the Lord Almighty." Right? And that is one of the things that we want the Lord to actually do for us, especially during these times, right? When there are spirits created for vengeance, when there's all these wars and rumors of wars. So, the important thing is to actually remember these acts of old, is to remember, the ways of our forefathers, to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments to our best, and to actually, stack up, righteousness, righteous acts, rehearse the righteous acts during these times, right? Because, like the precept I read earlier, we want the Lord to remember mercy upon us, right? Let's get okay, 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, and it reads, "For Yahweh Bashem Yahushai hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind," right? And then inquiring and understanding and knowing these ways, and essentially learning about these different acts of old, it helps to kind of like, for me especially, like it helps to keep stable, like and and that's one of the greatest gifts we're going to need during these times, is to have a mind that is stable, that's not bugging out, essentially. Like a good example of that was there was a period, I think, in the book of 1 Samuel, when Saul was behaving like real frantic, and he started like bugging out because the spirit of the Lord essentially left him, right? He didn't have that comfort. He didn't have that ability to to remain stable, to get counsel, right? To actually have your prayers being heard, right? We don't want to be in that spirit, right? We want to be able to make our supplications known, have a good relationship with the Heavenly Father, so we'll be able to stay stable during these times, right? So I guess I'll end it off with this precept. This is a very common precept, but still very powerful at the end of the day. This is let's get okay, this is Isaiah 33 verse 6, and it reads, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is his treasure," right? And that is one of the things that's going to keep us sturdy during these times, right? And that's one of the reasons I bring out these different lessons on, different stories, so, it helps to keep us stable in things to come, right? They're not just stories that we reflect on, but they're stories that we can also apply and, think about, how we ought to act, during these times, right? But anyways, I'll leave it off there. I don't want to make the lesson too long, but hopefully that all makes sense. I just thought it was also interesting he acquired a sword, right? And we also have a sword, but our sword is now spiritual, right? So hopefully this video, as always, was edifying. But I'd like to give our praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.